All right. Thank you, Jason. And sorry about that, everyone. I'm on my personal computer, so getting Teams up and on my Mendon ID took a second. So I'm just going to pull up our agenda here. So I will call this meeting of the December 5th General Bylaws Review Committee to order. Just want to let everyone know that this meeting is being recorded. I am the town administrator. I'm a non-voting resident, and I am presiding until organization begins. So why don't we start with a roll call attendance of members of the committee who are in attendance. All right, thank you.
Sorry, Jerry, representing the select board as a non-voting member.
Thank you, Select Board Member Cooter. So our first order of business and the most important order of business is to organize as a committee. So the committee needs to elect officers, most importantly, a chair. And also, I think it's important that we elect a vice chair. Most committees don't have a secretary identified, but if the committee wants to discuss having a secretary to take minutes, post agendas, something that myself and in my office, Katie, can help with. So I would entertain a motion to nominate an individual for chair. We can also have discussion before that, since since you have yet to meet as a committee. Before we have a motion in order, if there's general discussion that the committee would like to have about its organization going forward, we can have that as a group as well.
Yeah, my discussion is I would prefer to be vice chair and recording secretary and do the minutes and agendas. I'm already chair of the Concom. I think somebody else. You're a chair. Maybe you should let somebody else practice.
I mean, I'd be open to being chair. So, I mean, I'm the moderator. I think. No, I'm going to be interpreting how the laws impacts the general town going forward. So I'd be open to being chair. I don't know if I was at first, but yeah.
So Carl doing all the administrative work.
If you're open to that,
I'm volunteering to do the agendas and the minutes. I got a lot of practice doing that for 9 months.
I'm open to being chair. Into to be good at presiding meetings, I think. Sometimes.
This should be a lively bunch. So
Yeah. I don't think it's difficult to wrangle anything.
Yeah. Well, I know it depends if you
Maybe
get.
that,
If the select board gives us a couple more members. Next couple
yes. I don't know about this guy's.
Oh, I'll definitely step and move back. I mean, support the vice chair.
If you guys are open, and you as open wants to be chair, well, I'll be open to the nomination for chair.
Okay, I will now nominate. Chair then.
Is that a motion?
There has been a motion.
Second.
The motion is in order. Any further discussion?
Sorry, Jeremy's presiding.
Yeah, you're not yet chair, Tom. Come on. So the motion's in order. Do we have any further discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, I'm not a voting member, so we can take a voice vote on this. All those in favor?
Aye.
And all those opposed? And the motion passes. Tom, you are chair. This is now your meeting.
Thank you.
You now need a vice chair.
Thank you.
You're the recording. Well, get your recording secretary printed one out just in case.
Well, let's move on to the rest of the board. I will accept a nomination, or a motion to nominate someone for vice chair.
I nominate Carl vice chair.
All right, do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
All in favor? I'm sorry, any discussion? All in favor? All right. Now, you indicated that you want to take on roles traditionally a secretary would take on. So I believe that is our officers.
If we get another 3 members, we can discuss whether to reorganize at that time.
That sounds good to me. Okay. Right. Reviewing the charter. So. We have select board member Cooter here.
Yeah, I'm gonna whip it up here in just a second.
Jeremy, can you put that up on the big screen? For the recording? You're muted.
I got it. I'm working on it. See if it gets it.
Jeremy, you're muted.
It's a race, Jason. Let's see.
Yeah, I got it.
See my dad does.
All right, Jason beat me to it.
All right, so. So this is the charter as the select board instantiated the committee, and so we could go through it. I think the general summary is that Mendon has a lot of bylaws, both in the zoning space and the non-zoning space. And so one committee was, the zoning committee was created out of a required need by the state. And the bylaw, our general bylaw committee was created out of a general need of the town to sort of rectify any conflicts in the bylaws or any contradictions with the current town sentiment on some of these bylaws. So like the bylaw was created 50 years ago and it's restricting us from doing something that is in plan to do that needs to be reviewed. So there's a lot of that, complexity, confusion inside the general bylaw state. Last night at the select board meeting, there was discussions about things that were missing from the bylaws. So not necessarily saying something in contradiction or not necessarily something that is wrong, but just something that isn't specified. And so because of a missing piece of specificity, I almost spit on myself there, it's like open to legal interpretation. And so there are places where maybe something being open to legal interpretation is against how our current town wants to operate. And so the thought was that a committee could come together to start maybe with some low-hanging fruit, some things that are obvious in the bylaws, and figure out how the select board can take that and introduce it back into town meeting as something that the town can vote on. And the idea is that the select board isn't arbitrarily using its political position to make changes to, how law is interpreted in the town. Like, so that there's a separation from the political component to the legislative component, and that we can use this committee as like the intelligent heartbeat of the community to like provide some reasonability, whatever law you're reviewing. So if this law says something like, we shall not pave Main Street, but not paving Main Street makes no logical sense. How do we take we shall not pave Main Street, find out why that was put there in the first place, and undo it in a way that doesn't negatively impact the town? Because we don't want to have like a 51% majority win on these things. Like, we want the whole town to accept these changes because they feel it's best for the town. And I don't think it's possible for us to do that in a non-political manner without a separate body to review that. So that is the summary of the charter document. I think the exact bylaws that we go in and review, the select board doesn't currently have anything in mind, though we have a discussion coming up in January. I know that the Conservation Commission has some things they would like to look at. I know that there are laws that would talk about that.
That's the document I sent out this morning.
Yeah. So, so that's the review of the charter. And if you take a look at like the specific responsibilities Right, so these have to do with the non-zoning bylaws, things that the planning commission wouldn't take on because they don't apply. And that the, like I said, the implications would be presented back to the select board. So I think there should be a discussion about how frequently you would like to meet with the select board to have a discussion about bylaws. If how you would like to present maybe the first couple low-hanging fruit things that Carl passed along that we might attack. We've got we've got annual town meeting coming up in May. Budgeting this season is coming up. So there's like a lot of activity going on right now. And so it's a perfect time to get out and collaborate with people and see what might need to be changed. If we can get into a cadence, it shouldn't be as much of a burden. And then hopefully also, I would imagine new bylaws that the townspeople might want to introduce. That would probably sit here first as a place of reckoning and logic, and maybe even handholding for how they would go through the process or complete the language in a way that makes sense. So.
Let me give the background behind that. Why I put that in the chart. There was a citizen petition to make a bylaw change 2 years ago, which said specifically that you cannot serve on conservation commission and planning board at the same time. You cannot be an elected position and also select. And it was specifically targeted at David Tim. He was the only person who was impacted by these. And because the citizen petition was badly worded in terms of it was not missing the right wording, it was unclear whether Damon had to resign immediately from one of those two boards or whether he could serve out his term. And there was a whole lot of political wrangling and hard feelings. And eventually I got into a conversation with town council. Harris North came back and said, no, because the language was worded the way it was, Damon is entitled to serve out his term. So my first goal is to say, no, if you want to have that kind of citizen petition, please come to us and make sure the wording is right so that we don't go through that very painful 3 or 4 month process and have to get town council to spend a lot of bills. Specifically, I've heard rumblings in the community about noise ordinance, so that's what I would be at the top.
Yes, there were rumblings just recently.
Maybe the same noises.
We don't want them to exceed a certain decibel level.
So I think there's a few things with that charter being said that we should determine as a board from my perspective. Number one, we have several possible action items here.
Can you bring up that
That Carl's kind of providing for that. Are we? So how does what we want to ask ourselves? How does something coming from this board? How do we determine that something? What? Well, we want to look at we want to look at how we determine that the bylaw or if it becomes an acronym of this board. Is it upon request by another board? Is it upon request by the select board? Are we highlighting things that as a board we want to look at? We want to do a top to bottom review of our current bylaws, maybe split it up into sections that we each read, come back to the next meeting. And maybe, just say, like if something stands out to us, maybe that's what we want to talk about, is if we want to do a review of a section of the bylaws. I think this is a good first list, but I would want to determine like how we go about our operations first and foremost.
But the first thing is, if the select board wants us to look into something, that was the top of.
Absolutely, I agree.
And with the goal of making sure that it is we are able to make a report back to the select board and be prepared for the next town meeting, whether it's a special town meeting. The annual town, first week of May. Other than that, part of the list that I've created is composed of discussions and emails I have received from town staffers and other town committees, where they've said, this is a particular pain point, or we believe this is something that the bylaws needs to be done. Dylan has said that we are required to get a stormwater bylaw, so eventually they will become to town meeting with that, and that's the part of the charter where it says we're going to liaison with existing staff meetings. In terms of looking at the overall town bylaws, there's an awful lot of them. I don't know if we have the expertise to be able to go through and say whether they're inconsistent or whether they might want to be updated or not. At the moment, I think we could, the low hanging fruit that Jason's looking at, you can get that from what we've already heard about.
So these are bylaws which were basically forwarded along to you by other people in town.
Yes, it's the correspondence and the discussions I've had with the past year.
Sorry.
Yeah,
No, I get it.
So I just, have you all had a chance to, review this? Bylaws process along?
Jason has
Maybe
asked
Steve
if-
might good things to start with, is there anything else that you think would like to talk about as well?
I mean, I think they seem fine. I just feel like we're gonna pick very random ones. It's gonna become very disorganized.
That's my thought.
Like, these are extremely random.
That's what my thought as well. I wanted to get into a process of how we determine our work, you know?
Personally, I would like you to be a working arm of the select board, like it's something that we don't have the bandwidth to complete.
So are these all coming from the select board?
Well, they come from Carl.
They're a representation of what I've heard people grumbling about.
Okay.
Are the two of you able to see what the list is? Do you have that?
I was able to review it earlier as well, so do you want to, I don't know if Jason's seen it yet.
I'm looking at it right now.
Oh, okay, got it, oh, it's up there, perfect, okay. I guess like,
That's not it, it's a different. That's still the chart.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's looking for a list of stuff.
I agree with Christina though, that, if this is going to become, this is what I've heard in town.
You're in control of that, is what I would say.
Okay, I want to determine.
If you're looking for a finite funnel, that's not.
Well, it's not even that finite funnel, I want to determine sort of like how we go about selecting these things to review.
I think you should have a selection criteria.
That's my.
But I think you need to identify the problem areas first, put it into a sort list and have that discussion amongst yourselves about where you feel the priority is based on what town meeting it's been like for the last couple of years, looking at what's been on there and what people are concerned about.
One of the other things that I have not done because we didn't have an official meeting is you, as chair, can now send out a town email saying, hey, here we are. If you have, we have a short list based on input from the past year. This is the sort of thing we would be looking at. Please tell us if you have other pain points or things that you know that we need to do.
I guess my concern is these are going to the top of the list because you've heard.
That's why I'm saying send out an email and get input from the rest of the people. We can talk to the different people in town, work here in town hall. You can send email to the other committees and say, hey, are you looking ahead for the next year and a half town meetings things that you may need to get going.
So this isn't like a start to finish review of them. This is finding ones that people find annoying and then fixing them.
No,
Okay, because that's like.
I think we're determining what that is, what But it sounds like we have the bandwidth.
So if the select board said, we would like you to review this, that would be very easy.
That's our job.
Yeah, but the rest of it, if that's what you determine, like you think the best way forward for this, because you're responsible for what that methodology is. So like, if the best way forward is to go top to bottom, and that's what you agree on, then go.
I mean, I'm kind of leaning towards that direction myself.
I think it would be more organized to go top to bottom.
So organized, but you need to be able to tell the town that you're gonna like milestones that they, so like, we're gonna do these first 10 this quarter or the next 6 months or whatever, because what that does is when you tell the department heads and members of town who are concerned about how these laws might affect them, they can plan ahead because they'll know what laws are being touched, right? And they can contribute or not.
So
Can I ask, because I don't know, how many bylaws are there in the town?
I'm going.
Yeah, can we get it printed?
I mean, how many
Like, is it like, can we get it printed?
Jeremy, would you
Like,
like
I'm
to
just
say
like,
something?
like a copy.
To add something?
So, same.
Jeremy's guys.
I'm pulling up the bylaws now. I had my hand raised on
Sorry, I
kind
did
of,
not see that.
yeah, no, no worries.
Go ahead, please speak.
About kind of prioritization, because I think it's a good question, and I think both the board and Jason had the right point in that, when the select board says we'd like this, that's number one, and then from there we go from things that department heads have identified or things that folks want assistance with citizens petitions, because what we really don't want is something like Carl had identified earlier, something that came in as a citizen petition and is kind of doesn't square with either MGL or something else. And then from there, I like Jason's approach of saying, this next quarter, this next half year, we're going to look at these 3 or 4. Not all of these are created equal. General provisions is pretty quick, but really we have 33 chapters. It's over 100 pages of somewhat dense, sorry, Christina, legalese about this. And some of it doesn't quite make, like we just voted to change at special town meeting to change section 2. To change section 1. The annual town meeting shall be the first Friday in May, and we said it shall be in the first 2 weeks of May, but preceding the town election. And then section 2 says it should be held on the Tuesday occurring 11 days after the first Friday. So we can't really have, that hems us in more than we wanted section 1 to say. So we should really amend section 2 to
How many pages are there?
109, which includes adopted MGLs. So
Right.
There are, 4 pages of adopted MGLs. So it's 105 pages of general bylaws.
I know from looking at the Mendon Wetland Protection Bylaw, there's a lot of specialized knowledge that even I would have to have Isabella help me with. And in order to
Because-
harmonize.
I'm thinking, if there's, say, 105 pages of stuff to go through, divided between the 4 of us, that's 26 pages each, right?
I will caution that not every page is created equal.
All looking at the same thing.
Exactly.
And the next meeting, come back, so we're all discussing the same thing at the same time.
Right, so my concern with this, as you said, I think they're good bylaws to look at, but the way we've gotten them is kind of like back channel.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my proposal is that you send out a general announcement asking department heads if they have other pain points. Dan Byer has said the stone wall thing came up because I asked him, hey, the conservation restriction has language to protect stone walls. What about other stone walls? And he went, "Grr." because there was a stone wall that got demolished and the
Right.
historical district couldn't do anything about
Right,
it.
absolutely, yes.
Dylan, as a department, well, Dylan's not the department head, but they said
This is staff.
they are going to have to work on something. Isabella will want to harmonize the wetlands bylaw as soon as DEP finalizes their stormwater stuff. So in effect, that's a partial department head list you have there, as well as one upcoming possible citizen petition in terms of the noise ordinance.
So we don't,
Sorry. go ahead.
there's no contact listed for the noise bylaw.
Right, that's because it's just people, when I go
Grumbling.
on site walks, people
Right.
say, hey, they started at 7 AM.
Right,
I really hate that.
yeah, right.
And
right,
I
right.
will say, Tom, that yesterday at a public hearing, an individual got up and said, "I know we have a noise ordinance in town, so blah, X, Y, and Z." And a select board member had to cut him off and say, "Actually, we don't have a noise ordinance." in
So
town."
that's something that's come up for a very long time, and I mean, the thing is, if I think the appetite in the town is there, but I don't know, is there something we want to have, like a form created, like for someone to fill out to say, please review this bylaw?
In effect, we have that already on the website. You just have to publish that. People would in effect send email saying they would like
Right.
something
Yeah.
changed.
Sorry, I'm looking for the right switch.
Okay, no, that's fine, so,
In terms of the noise ordinance, yeah, I've read the state code. I've read other towns' bylaws, and so if people are interested in pursuing that, we can say what we should do in that, but that's if we want to specifically look at a noise ordinance. In terms of a general organization, I agree, we should poll the department heads and committee chairs and say, do you have other lists that we toss into the bucket along with the ones that Carl's heard about the last year?
so my proposal, this sounds reasonable, is that we make a sort of form that request for general bylaw review,
I have just the technology for you.
Google Forms, right?
No,
No.
We're not,
Microsoft.
we don't use Google.
Oh, okay.
we're Microsoft.
Fine, yeah, Teams forms, yeah. So, yeah, we use that
So, yeah.
form,
And
that,
you should put a site together. I mean, I don't know what you are doing for your other committees, but like you have a page on the website
yeah,
and from there you can publish this information. to the public.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but that was my thought, is putting this on the committee page.
Yeah.
Or request for general bylaw review. And people can indicate if it's a bylaw that already exists, or they can indicate if it's a proposed bylaw.
Mhm.
Then we go back to the people on my list and say.
Absolutely,
Forms, so
yeah.
that we have it in a nice organized format.
And that way we kind of can set our agendas. We can do this twofold, right? We can, when people request we review something, we can review those. And meanwhile, beyond that,
You have a lot of general work to do.
right, the general work is, okay, today we're working on chapter 1 through 3,
Right, whatever the set of pages is that you've decided on that
So,
meeting. And you prioritize, your customer base, basically, right? You prioritize the customers. They
Absolutely.
come in and ask for you,
Absolutely.
to help you stop what you're doing and you go help.
So something I'd like to direct to the select board to bring up at a future meeting is, do you want to direct our committee to look at noise?
Yeah, Jeremy, can you put that on a future select board agenda at some point in the next 2 months?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, probably not December 18th. We're getting a little packed.
No, next 2 months, like, yeah. Because that's
Sure.
gonna be
We'll get
that
some-
will also be a lively discussion, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, the select board is not in unanimous agreement on the necessity for one, so.
That's
yeah,
an
we're-
excellent reason for them to delegate it to us, and then we come, that's the whole reason the finance committee exists, to go off and deal with that and come back with the report.
Right.
And the first thing we'd want to do is have a meeting with the police chief and find out what their views are, what they think is enforceable, if they need equipment, stuff like that.
Yeah, and Chief brought up a good point last night that I hadn't thought about just in generality, which is when the tools they have in their toolkit to enforce law is criminal, it makes it really difficult for them to do their job. If they have local ordinance to work by, it allows them to use different tools in situations where they don't really need to escalate to a criminal situation. You know, arrest a person because their music is too loud, that kind of thing. That's like the perfect crossover for like, we need some more, you know,
And that's,
law.
that's the kind of input I'd want them to say, that the police chief to say at a public meeting and see what other citizens were interested in.
Yeah, the police chief said that yesterday, and then a select board member added that the tools the police chief have right now, the police have right now, to remove a fly from a forehead is using an axe. So that's, you know, kind of.
You know who said?
I grew up with that phrase, so I have a very good idea of who might have said that. I recognize that phrase quite a bit.
Yeah, that was a new one.
That's funny.
So, I mean, like, would you wanna, so you wanna like amend the charter with more direction?
Well,
Is that
here's
helpful, or-
what I would like to, if this is okay, amenable to everyone, kind of the format I'd like to see these meetings go. Top of the list, new application, like it's not an application because you're not getting a permit,
Right.
but new review requests. Follow up on old review requests. Then thirdly, continuing review.
It's like a standing agenda and that drives your mission.
Right, and then public comment.
We don't need to change the charter. Item number 6 lets us review current bylaws.
Right. So that's how does that sound to everybody as like a format for the way these meetings go? Number one, you know, new submissions. Number two, review of old submissions. Number three, continuing review of the general bylaws. And number four, public comment. Executive session, whatever might be on there. Hopefully we won't have an executive session because that would be.
I mean, I guess it's possible if there are sticky parts of the law we need to bring
Right.
counsel in on.
Right, but I don't foresee that.
I don't know any.
But yeah, that basically number four is anything else, right?
Well, what I would look to do is, we'll have our review of current stuff and what we're planning. At some point in time, when we're ready to solicit input from the public, we should publish that as a public hearing. And then, you know, saying, as opposed to a public meeting, we put it in advertisement and say, our committee will be entertaining we are actively asking people from the public to come and talk to us. And for example, on the noise ordinance, we'll probably have a room full. If we're talking about the stormwater change, I don't think we'll have very many people.
Jeremy, do you know what our legal requirements are for a public meeting? Like, we can just call one, right?
Public meeting, I'm saying we want to have a public hearing.
A public hearing, sorry, it's the wrong.
Well, but, so a public hearing, what we're doing is a public meeting.
This is the public meeting, but I'm saying calling the public order essentially with a public hearing is a legal maneuver.
Right.
And so are there requirements that this committee has to have in order to match that? I don't know. I don't do that.
I thought a public hearing is required for certain things, but
It is, but you can also call one.
okay.
Yeah,
And-
so I'll follow up on the requirement to do so. You can call a public hearing to, you know, approve your minutes if you want, but
Yeah, right. I mean,
but I don't, because this committee is kind of research, analysis, and advisory in nature, and that its recommendations are that they're not binding and they're not votes to change something in particular. I don't think it necessarily requires a public hearing. I think if we have a particularly contentious change, then it may be wise to post and circulate. But I will follow up, but I don't think that there's a particular legal requirement for
No,
public
I-
hearings.
I don't think so either, and, like, I mean, essentially what we're doing is we're calling our meeting a public hearing, it's not like a legally.
I think it's.
It
important-
matters to
it's-
the people who read it.
I think it's an important message to the public to say, hey, we really, really want to hear, and we're going to have a specific time in our meeting for you to come and talk to us about it.
I've noticed just sitting on the board that when we call public hearing, everything is different,
Okay,
just in the audience, like.
fair enough, I mean, I'm open to that.
I don't think we should do that right away, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you might want to.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and like, when we get to that point, I think it's a point when we actually like, when we're,
And we'll find out if this, in January, where the select board wants us to start fast tracking a noise ordinance.
right,
Because people will want to feedback on that, if that's the
absolutely,
case.
absolutely.
If it's on the select board agenda that you're going to talk about a noise ordinance, you'll hear from the audience about that.
And I think let's just keep talking about the noise ordinance in general as like that type of thing.
Yes.
I wouldn't want to get to town meeting and have people feel surprised.
No.
Even if they were notified like a month in advance, like I would have wanted them to feel like they had talked it through, not just on Facebook. You know, like.
My goal would be that,
And you're saying that discourse on Facebook is
No, I'm
often,
just saying that more discourse is needed than just that part of the world.
my goal would be that the select board reads the warrant article and then they look and the moderator says, is there a recommendation from the bylaw review committee? And then I would get up as vice chair and say what it is. And then the
Yeah.
first person speaking would be the police chief saying, I really want this for the following reasons. And that should pretty much end the matter. And if we've crafted a good noise ordinance, people may come and ask questions about it, but it should pass relatively quickly.
Yeah, that's a good role play right there, because that is a scenario that I would see like this board representing its decision-making process, just like finance does, because the town is looking, like back to the politics, the town is looking for a third-party trustworthy advocate. Be a great like end cap to this committee's suggestive power, I guess.
Especially if you need to update section 2 to after section 1. So
Jeremy looked like he was about to say something.
Yeah, I needed to hop off by 8:15 to go help out. I wanted to say a couple things if you had any specific requests of me, but also Jason, we need to watch the select board meeting from last night because I'm having a difficult time hearing Christina from that side of the table where the mic is right now. So we may need to, I don't know, revisit or the height, the distance, something.
Yeah, I'll listen to it later.
Fair
Write
enough.
that down.
Fair enough.
part of it is also people in the audience weren't able to hear the Vanderslices talking.
Yes,
Um,
there was some discourse around that.
I ended up having to switch to another online meeting before they closed out that conversation.
so let's discuss the elements we want for this sort of application form. Because I want to put this together and throw it up there tomorrow myself. And I want to do that with deliberation from everyone ahead of time. So I'm thinking we could, name a person requesting, board or committee or
Department head.
department, if that's where they're representing and doing so. Or if they're just an individual.
So if they're a mendonma.gov email owner.
Yep.
Then you will get all of their personal information right away, just to let you know. So
Gotcha.
you'll know like right off the bat, if like chief signs the form, it'll say him, his name and all that. So, just so you know, but you should add, then you will need to add a field for people who aren't in the town. So you're gonna have a little bit of duplicate information.
Email.
That's absolutely
So
fine.
Full name, email address, if it's Mendon Street address.
Yep, street address, if a resident, because we're soliciting department heads as well.
So those should be mandatory fields. a non-mandatory field should be, is there an existing bylaw? And if so, what it is,
Yep.
because I do not want to force a citizen to read through the 100 pages and say, this is the one I want to change. I just want it from citizens. I want them to be able to say,
Right.
rah, 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 rah. Department heads, we can expect a little more rigor and we can send them back an email saying, you know, exactly what are you talking about?
Yeah. So we
use
could have.
forms.
Do you know if do you know if this is an existing bylaw? Or is this an existing bylaw? Yes, no, we're unsure.
Don't say yes, no, or not sure. Ask them in a text field, is there an existing bylaw? If so, fill it in.
Okay,
What the reference.
yeah, that works.
So department heads will know, yes, I'm bylaw number 6, section 3. Because that's their department.
Right.
And what I can do is I'll send email to Ann Mazar and Dylan and whatnot saying, okay, Tom's created this form, go fill it out and we will then have
I want
something.
to show you how easy this is. So I just created this form. I just went to forms.microsoft.com. If you're logged in as T Maroli or whatever your login is, then you'll get access to this. You go create the form and like right away, it's going to be like, hey, recommended. Oh yeah, I just want to add this, right? This. Just go through and check these, right? And if I say add selected, it immediately is going to throw that on the form. And then,
Perfect.
you say collect responses and you send the link out. It's very easy. And if you need help, you can just give me a call.
Works for me. Yeah, it looks nice. It looks very
Very
intuitive.
formy.
Very intuitive.
So like long-term, what you can do with the forms in our environment here is that you can take the form and write it to like a SharePoint list. And then you could take that SharePoint list and export it to Excel, or
Okay.
you can use automations on the list that like send. you
Let me
special
ask, is
emails.
there a way, is there a way that certain people can review the forms?
Yeah.
Like, can we set it up so everybody in this committee has access to the responses?
Yeah, that's called collaborate.
Okay.
Like that's the feature, and you would share the collaboration link with your board members here. And
Perfect.
as soon as they went in, they would be able to edit the form, see the responses. If you just use forms by itself, it has a little response engine. So like with graphs and pie charts and all that jazz, and you can export right from there too. It's a very powerful tool.
The other thing we can set up is email on our webpage that people can see. in addition to the form.
address?
I don't think we have a group email. That's what I'm saying. We would want to have a group email that would burst out to all 4 of our town emails.
Yeah, so if you just put in a help request,
I can submit that.
Yeah.
Okay.
they'll make one.
You'll
for you.
take care of that? Yeah. Thank you. So name, street address, if a resident or committee or department or resident, street address, bylaw, if in existence, comment,
Yeah, a large text box.
a large text box, comments, why you're asking us to look at this? Let people say why.
And the other thing that I will volunteer to do is if we get an email from a concerned citizen, I can turn it into a form.
Okay,
rather than-
that's awesome. Thank you.
So that way, if someone older than me who doesn't know computers
Right,
very well
right,
sends an
absolutely.
email or calls up or
What happens if you get a letter?
paper, dead ink on dead trees, how last century.
I'm my day job, I'm the treasure collector for the town of Hopedale. You find I'm a very forms and spreadsheets and
Yeah.
computer driven person, so I'm,
So do we have a volunteer to maintain our webpage? Because I would prefer not to do that.
I mean, I'm, cause this is all, the same format as all the other pages, correct?
Yeah, we have a new fancy website coming and
Yeah, we signed
it's
the
in
contract.
progress right now. It should hopefully be done by the summer. And it's super powerful and it's got a lot of new features. So, but yeah, everything works the same way, no matter where it is. You just you can talk to Ellen, about making sure to make sure your page is there and referenced properly. Because she has a couple of workflow things. The agenda, that it gets placed in the right place and linked to on the right page and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that works for me.
Yeah.
So.
And the town clerk is honestly another good place to hear that type of feedback. People are coming in and, doing regular operations with her and talking with her about their problems, and she hears a lot about what's happening. Same thing with the treasurer, right? Well, you're doing the job, right? So people are coming by and they're saying their piece while they're at the window. So that's another good place to stop by and hear what's going on.
I think on the form, somewhere toward the bottom, there should be some sort of disclaimer in some way that we will get to it, but it may not be instant. Because I think if we get like 10 all of a sudden, I think it's unreasonable to expect.
Yeah, I get.
But
Please-
these are gonna be time consuming.
Please understand that this is, we're a board of volunteers and we're going to be reviewing these as they come to us.
Yeah, or just even as simple as like, we received your review, it will be put on our list.
Is there a way you
I
can?
was just about to say that you can do a thank you message that goes back to them, and you can put all that in
That
there.
sounds
Like,
good
this
to
was
me.
your response, all, chill out.
Expect it to be instant
Yeah,
and be curious as to why it wasn't discussed at the following.
I mean, the great thing yeah, you'll have data about, who's making these requests and how often, and that'll be an important measure, I think, of the community's interest in whatever's going on. To
Absolutely,
throw some polls out there.
absolutely.
If we get a lot of people complaining about a particular issue, we refer to the select board.
Yeah, that's why the select board's here to
Feeling some
share
heat.
everything else, right? So.
We're hearing some heat. People are really upset about the historical building demolitions. Do you want us to do something about that?
Another good example of,
So what I'll do, I'll create that form tomorrow. I'll create the thank you message tomorrow. I'll send it out to everybody before I pull the trigger. Just get the A-OK. Other than that, we want to set how, when we meet. Is this the first Thursday of the month? Do we want to look towards the first Thursday of the month as our regular meeting time? That would mean this next meeting would be January 2nd.
Do we want to meet once a month or twice a month?
What do you guys think?
I think we want to start with twice a month. And then if we have a lot of stuff to do, we would want to keep meeting twice a month, especially if we're going to get referred to do something for town meeting in April. If we're expecting to look at the 100-page existing bylaws and think we definitely want to meet every 2 weeks.
What do you guys think? 2 weeks?
2 weeks helps with less long meetings.
Yeah.
That's, I find it a lot, especially if you're starting at 7:30 at night, I find it a lot easier to do shorter.
Are we able to meet at 6:30 at future meetings, or are you always not going to be available?
It depends, really, for me, it depends on the day of the week.
For me, it doesn't matter. I don't get home at work by 4.
Yeah, I can start earlier. It doesn't matter. It was
Okay,
just tonight I have it.
okay, so starting at 6:30 sounds like a good.
So the problem is the third Thursday of the month is ZBA.
Oh, and the first, second, and fourth is
Is
Concom. So Thursdays in general, I was okay with this for our first meeting, but if we move it to another day, that would be.
Wednesday works for me if we want to do 6:30.
The only problem with Wednesday is that
Select-
Do we want to meet?
ramp up select board meetings.
Do we want to meet opposite the select board schedule? Because the select boards, what is it, the first and third or second and fourth? It's the first and third, so it was yesterday.
Yeah. First.
So we want to do the second and fourth Wednesday of the
Yes.
month? And so that would mean next.
That would actually help if you needed to do a meeting with us, it would still be on your
On a-
Wednesday.
Yeah, so.
Yep.
But instead of meeting next Wednesday, give everybody a break. Oh, well, that'd be Christmas, so. Yeah.
And the 18th is the next select board meeting, just to let you know. But you're happy, I mean, you're welcome to meet that. Like, I don't have to be here. I'm just your liaison. So I like to talk to you all, but like, you can handle it. You're adults and you're running the boards.
My other suggestion is future meetings, we should be able to do online with just the four of us. I
Yeah,
felt the first meeting is important because we needed to meet each other and figure out who's going to be which office.
look, I think, so I'm probably gonna try to come in person, as much as possible, because I think it's when people want to take part, sometimes a lot of people like will come here and be like, what the heck, where is everybody? Personally, you guys are more than welcome to take part remotely. I'm very much in favor of everything being remote, hybrid access.
Well, here's what I would propose. Our regular meetings are online only. If we have one of those,
Okay.
we're expecting the public to attend, that's where we would all schedule to come.
Okay, that works for me.
As well, those would be.
And again, I want to make it clear that I'm like, I understand the world we live in, like remote access. If you want to take part remotely in person, you're more than welcome to. Whatever is most comfortable with you guys, as far as I'm concerned. So second and fourth generally works. Second and fourth Wednesday at 6:30 is what we want to do. In terms of the next meeting, though, December is tricky because we have the 18th is a select board meeting.
I mean, if there's
think we
nothing
could-
going on downstairs, we can.
I think
just-
And if we want to do it remotely,
I think we can meet on the 18th.
do we want to plan for the 18th for our next one?
Yeah.
And then after that, the 8th of January would be the second. So the
Yeah.
18th at 6:30.
And if you want to like milestone a target for 2 to 3 months from now to just get on the select board agenda and say like, this is what we've been chatting about.
Yeah.
This is what we're thinking. Just a few months into it, once you got your pace going and.
Yeah. So let's discuss that, like when we want to do that on the 18th. Like.
Wow, you already got a new agenda item.
Yeah.
I'd like to block out who do we talk to block out a meeting room or setting up a regular?
So all you have to do is add the room in Outlook to the meeting. And it will if it's open, you'll get it. And if it's not, it'll tell you. If it's the police station or it's this room, it'll be an approval thing that goes to the approval people and you'll get an approval from it automatic. It's all automatic. So there's like a rooms here. I'll show you.
Are we okay meeting in the room downstairs?
I'm fine with that. Is everybody cool with?
Yeah.
And again, or remotely, whichever works.
If we have a public hearing, we'd see about bumping it up to this room.
Yeah. I don't think we're gonna need that much space. I don't think we'll get a big audience most times.
All right. So when you are in Outlook, and there'll be this room section right here. Let's see if I'll zoom that in a little bit. All right. So it says search for a room or location. You see there's 3 rooms available. And so this is Town Hall Upper Meeting Room. This is Town Hall Main Floor Meeting Room. It's the one right underneath us. And then Police Department Public Meeting Room is across the street. That one requires approval from the chief, but that takes about a day or two and it's all automated. So if it's green and it says it's available, it's available. That's how we do it. So everything is booked this way. So Ellen goes in and books this way ahead. So if it's not booked, it's not booked.
So our
She'll
next-
take a look at that herself and make sure and check with you if it's not.
What's the date in December that we're meeting? Oh,
The 18th
December 18th.
at 6:30 in the downstairs meeting room. Or remotely.
Remote only.
Or remote only. Okay, I thought that's what you're doing. Then we started talking about the room downstairs. So it's,
I'm just looking ahead.
You know, the chair needs to control the meeting.
You can go I'll get the gavel, and you can just whack me
Yeah,
with it if you
no,
need to.
Okay, so that sounds good to me. 18th, we're going to put the form live. Otherwise, and if we get any requests, Carl, if you want to reach out to these parties to,
Well, if the forum is going live tomorrow, then we can have them.
that's what I mean, if you want to have them, let them know.
What? So
We've got a goddamn bureaucrat in charge of the board and he's gonna make people do forms.
the workflow is you publish to the four of us that the form's ready, we practice it, we say yay, and then I can reach out to all the department heads and, well, you'd send out a general email to and then I'd contact these people saying, yep, go use the form, so we see,
So,
so it gets on our list.
so beyond that, too, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna publish the form. I'm gonna reach out, general town email, department heads, committee chairs. State, you know, this form, if you want us to have a particular eye towards this, please fill this out and send it in and we'll.
This is how we do our like capital process now and everything too, so they should have some experience.
Okay, perfect. And then beyond that, for our general bylaw review, like the ongoing review, I'm thinking we can look at the first the first 3 chapters. It's 8 pages. How's that sound? Or is that too many?
My suggestion is we do, our homework before the 18th is just skim the whole 100-page document, and then we can come and have a better understanding of how much work is involved. One of the things Jeremy said before he left is not all of those 100 pages are equal.
Right. I'm looking, the first 3 are not long, is why I've decided to pick those first 3. How does that sound to everybody? The first 8 pages of the document, it's general provisions, town meetings, and duties of town officers.
No,
I think-
and number 2 already has an issue, so.
Yeah, so I think that'll be a
Get some
good,
practice.
I think that'll be a good appetizer. Does that sound amenable to everyone?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it would be really neat if this committee was versed enough to be able to like translate the, you know, the value and the meaning of these bylaws, because it's sometimes gets really complicated at town meeting. I feel like sometimes we're just hitting people with word soup and like they don't know what's going on. And because it's like, well, I've read that 1,000 times by the time I get to town meeting, you know, like we've had 20, 30, sometimes 40 hours of discussion on it. And that person has just seen it for the first time. And what, you know, it would be great if somebody could say, this is what this really means.
I find half of the discussion at town meeting is the process of what the heck the change is actually gonna do, rather than the merits of the thing, you know?
Yeah, they need to trust somebody to say that, right? So.
Yeah, so.
So I should be able to have like a decent, I guess, navigation of the language. So I don't know.
Yeah.
If that's.
That's awesome.
Well, it's that nothing can be layman because it needs to be direct, right? Like it needs to have a direct result. That means that the language could be complex enough to make somebody think it's something different than it really is. Just like, you know, when we have to write, ballot measures in a very specific way. And it's like, what is this saying? Well, you know what it's saying? You vote this, you get that.
Yeah.
That's what it's saying. It's very like, even when Tom does the, you know, review of the meeting, like it's the same thing. It's like, it's so complicated. It feels like there needs to always be discussion about what this really means so that people feel like they're doing something.
And also, so people feel like there's not something like, sometimes people like, like there's some hidden agenda here. And it's like, no, this is just actually like how the law needs to be passed. Yeah, no, I absolutely glad to have a lawyer here.
Well, not a full attorney, so I don't want to claim.
Okay, someone with a legal background.
Yes, you're like 1,000,000 times more a lawyer than I am.
Yeah.
And you're a lawyer.
My life is governed by municipal finance law, so I have that background.
My background was 30 years dealing with regulators from the Securities and Exchange
Oh,
Commission,
wow.
the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, and the Federal Trade Commission.
So, yeah.
Mine is corporate accounting, so.
Oh,
Hey, wow,
definitely.
we have a bunch of
So
legal scholars and accountants on this board.
Yes.
What have you done?
Well, I mean, it was intentional and it was Carl, asking me to get it done for a year and a half. So here we are.
So there's something else that we've identified. We now know that section 2 of the existing bylaws must be changed at the next annual meeting because it's inconsistent with the recently passed section 1.
Right, by 4 days.
So I think that's something that the select board is now going to be able to tell us to do.
Yeah.
And that is what we can use as our first practice workflow.
Right. Are we gonna ask the select board to use the form?
If they feel comfortable, otherwise they can talk to one of us and we'll fill
Yeah.
in the form just like we.
Oh,
would.
make us do this, man.
No. Because if they tell us to do it, it jumps to the top of our
I mean,
list.
we're under, we operate at their
Pleasure.
So
pleasure.
it's more of like.
They're our boss. Yeah, more or less. Yeah. That's like kind of how,
Yeah, so the 5 of us together are one boss for the town. And so
They're
our.
like a mayor.
Yeah, our executive position is to split that responsibility amongst 5 people, right? So that it's fair. And
we're,
Saying, like, tell the select board to tell us to do this.
Oh, no,
That is extremely inefficient.
well, because he's saying like, make the select board follow an official process so that when they
Right,
have something
yeah.
to say to this board, that it's not in passing, because that is, I mean, admittedly, a lot how we operate, because, bosses are always out of time, but make us do something, because
well, my
how hard is it to
thought
click on?
is I like to have this running grid of
Yes.
things to do.
Yeah.
And if we see the word select board as the department requesting it, I'd say, okay, this is a priority because.
I definitely think if you sent an email right to the board and asked them to do that you would get input. So I think. Great.
And
official
look,
way.
let me put it this way. I also think Jeremy can do that on behalf of the select board as
He
well.
can, but he also, is doing a lot of different.
No,
I think that this should get deferred until that meeting in January where we are going to be talking about the noise ordinance. At that point, we will have had our next meeting. You can go and make.
Well, that's if the board gets through that.
Well-
yeah, no, I mean, again, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves here.
Well, what I'm saying is at a January meeting, you can go to the board and say, here is the process that we are going to be following. If you tell us to do something, we will pay it. It jumps to the top of the queue. And we have identified that section 2 needs an update and we will be prepared to present something at annual meeting in May.
Absolutely. So the agenda for December 18th, as I'm seeing it now. Any forms that have been filled out? Review of sections 1, 2, and 3. That's what I see as the next agenda. Does that sound good to everyone?
That sounds great.
On that note, do we have any further discussion for this meeting? So the meeting schedule, next meeting is December 18th, but after that, it's the second and fourth Wednesday of the month at 6:30 p.m.
What are our capabilities as perhaps having, like, I don't know, if this would be something downstairs, can we get the bylaws, like 105 pages, whatever's printed? So we all are-
Yeah, can you send an email to Katie Moxham? She's the select board admin, and ask her to do that for you.
Okay, I wasn't sure if we could do that, because I would like to see.
All you have to do is ask, whatever we can do.
I think we have bound copies somewhere in town hall as well.
Do
Yeah, but
So,
I remember this from when I worked here. I don't know.
They're going to be out of date.
yeah, they're gonna be out of date, and they're also gonna be out of date after they're printed. So the process of just a little process stuff, after we do stuff at town meeting, it's not actually done. It has to go to the Attorney General to be certified, and then it comes back. That takes a few months. So, and also any NGL stuff that comes down or language changes to their own stuff. And so that's twice a year. And so basically bylaws update twice a year. And so that's why it's kept electronic. But if you want a printed copy, yeah, I mean, we've got a printer and Katie can.
Do we have, so here's a question. Do we have a marked up copy of the changes from the November town meeting?
That's another thing that Katie would have for you.
Okay, perfect. Because that's the one. Yes, I do.
It may be the case that the Attorney General says, no, I'm not approving the change to section 1 because you're going to break section 2.
Right, that could happen.
And then
That could happen, but
that's
More likely, they're gonna say, and then send it.
right. Well, and now we have an excellent story at town meeting. Yeah, we're here because the select board came up with an amendment without having a review committee to review it. So we screwed up. We're now back to fix both section 1 and section
I
2.
was gonna say, do they have to reapprove section 1 if the Attorney General
Well,
sends it back?
let's cross that bridge when we get to it. The Attorney General's not sent it back yet. As far as I'm concerned, that
Right.
is going to be the change.
Right.
If the Attorney General, because like, here's the thing, the Attorney General has approved things. I'm like, what the heck? And
It's
they've
mainly if
rejected
it's a
things where I've been like, there's no reason this should be rejected. So you never know what's gonna happen. I do know, like, again, like, we should operate as if that's what the people at town meeting voted. That's what they indicated they wanted the changes to the bylaws to be, so we should operate as if those are the new bylaws, in my opinion.
Yes. Thing is, I did not have a encyclopedic memory of section 2, or I would have stood up in town meeting and said, hey, you're about to break section 2. And then we would have had to spend a half hour or an hour in town meeting trying
Right,
to
well, what was interesting is that when we looked at it, it was because we only ever saw section 1, so it wasn't in conflict with anything.
That's why part of our meeting agenda is going to be like a
Look for
continuing review of the bylaws.
It would also be neat to see the dependencies amongst the
Absolutely,
bylaws,
absolutely.
you know, because I'm sure there are some.
Well, that's the thing, because I remember several years ago when I brought forth the citizens petition to change board of selectmen to select board.
Mhm.
Like, one thing I had to do, like,
all the places.
well, because then I had ended up doing dueling ones for both the bylaws and the zoning bylaws, and the zoning bylaws had to pass by 2/3, and everyone's like, why are you doing a zoning bylaws? I'm saying, because if you have the Board of Selectmen referred to in the zoning bylaws, that board no longer exists. So suddenly you're gonna be referring to a board that's no longer there, and we should put this one first because it has to pass by 2/3, whereas the other one only has passed, so it's crazy sometimes, like, it's almost like a like that
Just
meme.
semantics.
It makes me think of that meme with the dominoes with the person that's
Little
like,
tiny one.
yeah, and then it's like something crazy is at the end.
Yeah.
Like, you never know, like, without reviewing these things and being intentional about it.
Yeah.
You never know what could happen.
There's another subject I'd like to bring up before we leave. We're a board of 4, which might lead to a 2-2 tie. Do we want to make noises asking the select board to appoint at least one more person?
I think, I think there's a
Didn't we
constant,
charter for 5?
No, we charted for 7.
Oh, 7.
At least I believe that's.
I believe it's 7 as well. But when you voted, there was no indication of how many the board was going to be, so I don't know that.
I know Ellen, when I was talking to her today, she said that we could bounce things off of her, but she didn't want to be a direct member. So I don't know if maybe that's the route we want to go until other people join, if we have
Oh,
the 2.
I've definitely twisted her arm. She doesn't want to come to another meeting because I was saying, my initial pitch last year was the town moderator and town clerk should both be ex officio. Well, we've got him as a voting member, so that's not an issue. But yeah, she's more than willing to look at whatever we come up with.
But I think if we're 2 versus 2 situation, maybe like she could be the first point to talk to.
Well, only only your board can make decisions. But the 2-2 vote puts you in opposition with each other, but doesn't have any effect other than on your own board's inability to discuss with us. what
Well,
you think.
right, well, so what happens is the motion that we're split on fails.
Right.
So it's a default no vote at that point. And again, like, I think that these positions are constantly gonna be advertised as vacant.
You need to find people like you who want to go through the academic exercise of figuring out these frankly pretty difficult problems. If they were easy, we would have banged them out
Look,
already.
we wanna find people who on a weeknight after work wanna sit here and talk about general municipal
We can also
bylaws.
say, so, we have 100-page dialogue, we are, how willing are you to?
Maybe we could
through it?
sweeten up the deal and let people know we're gonna be watching some paint dry.
Well, we have free candy. So.
You know, maybe that will add some excitement to the meetings. You know?
Yeah, I mean,
But-
it took a while, right, to find all of you. It's just, this is like God's work. Nobody really wants to do this. It's hard, right?
I think there's probably someone out there.
Oh, I know. There's at least one more. Yeah.
Well, the problem is we don't want them to be antagonistic.
Oh, we are a deliberative body of multiple people with multiple opinions, and I'm assuming everybody is going to interface with us and be part of these discussions in good faith. So
See, that's why I want you to be chair, not me.
I think
I am not a
assumption
people
of good faith is the bedrock that all of this,
Just positive intent, right?
yep, it relies upon. And so hopefully someone else applies and
Yeah, you shouldn't also feel that the select board is trying to scapegoat work onto this board.
I don't
want you
feel
to
that
think
way at all.
So, yeah, I mean, you should feel like an independent body providing an opinion, to a political body that's trying to do what's best for the town.
Yeah, I mean, we're specialists. But yeah, I think, and I'll let the select board deal with how they're going to fill the vacancies on this board. I mean, I think, we've indicated to you, we want another member at least.
I will definitely bring it up.
If you
in
could
this-
relay that to the mics and everyone else. It's just single out one mic, but there's two of them. So.
Yeah.
I
sit between them.
Yeah. Sorry for that. Well, if there's nothing else, I will accept a motion to adjourn the meeting until December 18th.
I so move.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right,
Have a
everyone,
great
have
night,
a good
everybody
night.
watching from home.
Nice to meet you. Looking forward to this journey.